awelisa, and I'm a knitter. I say a lot, so let's just start there. But I used to blog a lot back in the day when I was in my early 20s, and then I stopped. I stopped being funny because I was going through college, and I stopped knitting because I was going through college, and while a lot of people start knitting in college, that's pretty much when I stopped for a really long time. Mostly because I felt guilty about buying all of my yarn. I started knitting when I was 18. I learned to knit out of spite because my boyfriend at the time thought it was really dumb, and he wasn't my boyfriend for very much longer. Back in the day, I started when web rings were very popular. I started a web ring called Acrylics Anonymous because even in the early 2000s, knitting with acrylic was people were supposed to be knitting with better yarn if you were in the know and all that stuff. But there's always a good time to knit with acrylic. Say you're knitting for your niece and nephew and you know that your sister will not take very good care of the yarn that you're using because she throws everything in the washer. But I have been knitting for 18 years. I have been married for 5. I have been with my husband for 10. And I really started getting back into knitting after my son was born. He was maybe 2 when I started getting really, really back into it. And then this year I was like, nope, this is it. I'm back. I have in that closet behind me is all of my crafting stuff, and there is a shelf completely with all my knitting books. I share this office with my husband, so all of that mess over there, it's all his. And all of my knitting stuff is over here on the side next to me. He spends way more time in here than I do. But that is who I am, and I thought I would start a knitting podcast because it's hard to write anymore, and I'm not really a big fan of that I mean, obviously there are still knitting blogs. I've been following Yarn Harlot for a really long time. Mason Dixon knitting and a bunch of other stuff, but I've always been into video, and I'm really loving podcasts lately, so or video casts, whatever you want to call them when they're on YouTube. So I thought I'd give that a try and see how it goes. My inspiration obviously would be the Grocery Girls. I wish my sister did, she doesn't. But I love watching them. That is probably the best hour of my every 2 weeks is my son goes to bed, I pop on the podcast on YouTube in the living room, and I sit and knit with them while they talk about knitting. I don't have any knitting friends here in town, so podcasts really make me feel like I'm part of the community. So that's why I thought I would start this podcast. So to start with what has been going on recently, I just got back from vacation, and on vacation I knit the Pure Joy Shawl by Joji Locatelli. It's my first one of her patterns. It was a ton of fun. I knit the first repeat, and I think maybe I got into the second part before I left, because last time I had started a knitting project before a trip, I wasn't anywhere close to being done. So. But this was my primary knitting project. We went to Oahu, and while we were there, tropical storm came through, so there was a day and a half that we were pretty much in the hotel. And our whole trip, the whole point was to relax, and so we really didn't plan on doing a lot of stuff, my husband and I. So I got a ton of knitting time in. So this was my hotel knitting because I was using my iPad to track my short rows. So this is mostly what happened in the hotel room. So I just finished that, and then if I go behind me, is it behind me? I have a lot of stuff behind me. Oh, it's not in here. But I also recently finished a sweater for my son. So it should be good enough for him to, should be cold enough for him to wear soon. He says it's a little itchy. I did use yarn that had been in my stash for a really long time. I used Knitpicks Andean Treasure, which is a DK weight, and I knit him the Maya sweater, and that's why the whole reason I'm over off the side like this is so that I can put some pictures over here. So I'll put a picture of the pattern of it. He actually helped me pick it. So I knew I wanted to do something kind of cable-y. So I asked him big cables, little cables, this cable, that. So I gave him this or that questions so that there was some stuff. And so I knit it, and then I'll show you some yarn later, but I'm going to actually knit that same sweater for both of his cousins and his best friend and his best friend's little brother. So those are the two most recent things I have finished. I'm actually really stoked about this. I bound off of the shawl as soon as we got onto the plane for our flight home. So we flew from Oahu to LAX, and I bound off as soon as the flight to LAX started, and then I started knitting on a pair of socks, and I'll show you those in a little bit because they're still a work in progress, but that was mostly what I did. So I did this in the hotel room, and then I worked on socks at the pool and at the beach, and obviously when I was done. And I packed another project. I'll show you that in a little bit. I don't know why I thought I would get to that third project, but you never know if you're gonna run out of yarn, so better to be safe than sorry. And we had room in our bags, which is actually amazing because we took 2 carry-ons. We didn't take big luggage, and we were there for a whole week. So that is what I just finished, and I'm super excited about that. What I have been working on, I've only been working on for a month and a week now, because I started this in August. And it is the Beekeeper cardigan, and I don't know, oh, that's a good color. So, and I'm down to my sleeve. I have one sleeve left. They are 3/4 length sleeves on me. It definitely needs a really good blocking. I don't know how people knit this sweater in 4 days. I really don't. I really wish I had run a timer while I was knitting it. I have probably spent 60 hours on it. I had knit 90% of the body when I saw a really glaring error. At one point I had omitted, there's 3 rows of essentially just plain purl stitching, and somehow at one point in one of the pattern repeats, about 8 inches from the end, I had made that mistake and I had omitted a row, and it was obvious. I took photos, and I'll pop a photo up here. Because I took a photo and then I asked my husband if he could see it, and it was I'm the kind of knitter that if you can't see my error, and I can actually show you one because I saw that hat in the bag. If the error isn't super obvious and it doesn't look like a mistake, I'll probably leave it because my life is not that. I don't have that much knitting time, and I don't have enough time to knit it back. But I was looking at it. I took the photo. It was super obvious something was wrong with it. My husband could see that something was wrong with it. And it was one of those things where you didn't know what was wrong, but something was wrong. So I had to rip back 8 inches and do it all again. And there's even a part on the back where if you look really closely, the pattern repeat, I did it 1 stitch over. I was not ripping back again when I saw that, because when I hold it up, you can't really see it, and it doesn't really read. I know it's over on this problem. If you stare at it, you'll probably see it, but it's not really there. So I'm actually really excited to wear this. Is going to be super great office knitting. I'm hoping to finish my sleeve this week. I have 20 pattern repeats to go. It's 10 decreases to match this sleeve and then the stuff. So every time I get to a decrease, I'm taking out the markers on this side so that I can make sure I'm matching on this side. But I'm really excited. I don't know how people knit it in 4 days. The yarn I'm using is from Blue Moon Fiber Arts. It is their Super Tarhi and the DK weights. It's Tarhi Silk Blend. The block swatch actually looks amazing compared to this. After I put it on, when I finished the body, I had to go. It was tighter than I expected, and then I had to go back to my block swatch and go, oh yeah, it's gonna get bigger. And the swatch feels amazing after I blocked it. The color is Poupon. I did do, so that's my swatch. And I did do the gold because I don't have a gold sweater, and I wear a lot of black and a lot of navy blue at work. Even though I could wear color, those are the colors I tend to buy. So I figured this would look really good over it. This is the second sweater I've worked on this year. The first sweater I finished for me was Kirigami by Gudrun Johnston. I think she's German, I'm not positive. I did that in Malabrigo Rastatita, and I really like the pooling, and that one fits really amazing, and it's going to fit even more amazing since I finished it, because I've lost 10 pounds since I finished it, so it should look even better around my belly, because that's always my problem. I always look at waist shaping and think, should I do that? No, and this time I actually did it, and it looks really nice, but so we'll see. So I'll probably wear that. If I keep doing podcasts, I'll probably end up wearing that in a podcast eventually. So that is what I've been working on. And I did not take that to Hawaii with me because it was so big. Because I knew that we were only going to take our carry-ons, and I don't like a full backpack. If I could get away with not having my backpack, I would do that too. But so like next time we travel for pleasure, I might take only my field bags, because that's all I needed on the plane was my field bag and my iPad. So then, let's see. Also, I have a lot of field bag stuff. Oh, and going back to the shawl, the yarn I used was Spun Right Round Classic Sock. This color is Big Teal Wave. It's really hard to photograph. It is a really bluey teal, and I was so much more pleased with it when I did the big repeat. And then the other color is called Starlight, and I always love stars. And of course, oh, hold on, there's the other bag down here. I have 2 field bags. This is the one I bought myself for my birthday. And I bought a little Hawaiian girl pin to put on it since we went to Hawaii, and it's my travel bag. It took me forever to find a pin because I did it. And then the other one, because I was using it in this one, is the Starlight. It has a lot more yellows in it than I expected when I knit it. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I do love the speckle. I would totally buy this and do a body sweater out of it, because I also look really good in white, I think. So, but I really am liking the speckles, and I think a speckle sweater would be really nice. So we'll see. So my other knitting that I was working on is just some plain vanilla socks. This yarn is Mudpunch yarns. She's a Canadian hand dyer, and I love all of her stuff. This is my 3rd skein of her yarn. No, 4th. So this one, let me open up my Ravelry page on my iPad, because I should have had that open ahead of time. But the other yarns I've had of hers is Ambitious Apiary and Kimono Moose, which I kept rereading wrong as Kimono Mouse, but that was like a purple and a green and another color. Where the frick did my app go? Oh, there it is. But I got this yarn, it's a new colorway for her. As soon as I saw it, I knew I had to have it. She is one of the few dyers that when I get her emails on Saturday mornings, it's a VIP email in my mailbox, so I get a text message that says she emailed me, and I usually have to go, do I need that? And the answer is literally always yes, 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 I absolutely need that. This colorway is Quiet Branching Out, and so I thought it would be great for Hawaii for my knitting because of the blues and the green and this dark gray. I really like it. When my boss sees it, he's gonna want my socks because he usually sees me knitting on socks. And my preferred method is 2 at a time, because since I've hit 2 at a time, I have knit 4 pairs of socks this year. Three, sorry. So I knit plain apiary, Kimono Moose, and I forget the colorway. I think the colorway is Rainy Day. It's a speckle set by Mudpunch. So it was gray, speckle, and purple for the heels. And I love that, and I might get that for a sweater too, because I think that would look amazing as maybe a swig or something, because I love speckles. Anyway, if Mudpunch had a A sock club, I would probably join that. I currently am a member of the Blue Moon Fiber Art Sock Club, and I haven't knit anything up this year. I'm waiting for all 6 to come, and then that's like my plan for next year is for the first 6 months is a pair of socks a month. This is the most, since I've started doing 2 at a time, it's the most I've ever been productive. My previous socks, I finished a pair this year, but had been on the needles for 8 years. Like I had started them in college and then never finished them. And I finished them and they were a little tight, so I gave them to a coworker. Because I love knitting, I'm not married to it. I'm married to my husband, I'm not married to knitting. But I'm happy to give away stuff that I make as long as I know that the recipient is going to enjoy it. And then if they're going to give it away, I just don't want to know about it, because I've given away plenty of knitting and I've felt guilty, in turns felt guilty about it. My mom knit me a sweater once that I don't know what she was adorable, but it didn't really fit. And I think I had that for a couple years and then I gave it away. And then I thought, oh, I probably shouldn't have given it away, but then it was too late. And I'm not going to feel guilty about stuff like that. So I do give a lot of my stuff away, my yarns and stuff, or my knitting away. And I'm pretty happy to do that. My favorite needles right now, as everybody's favorite needles, the Chiagoos. I can't wait to get some of the a little bigger sizes. I would love to replace my Knitpicks needles with these. I love how pointy they are. I keep puncturing my finger the longer I knit. So I might have these done by the next time too, because I'm going to enter them into the September sock bash for the Grocery Girl Knits. It's not on their theme. Their theme is Christmas, or not Christmas, holidays this year. And while a vacation is a holiday, it's not really a holiday. If I had Christmas striping yarn, I would be knitting those, but I don't have any Christmas yarn yet. So that's what I have in progress. And then the very last thing that I have in progress, that this is my purse knitting. Normally I have a sock in it, but lately I've been doing hats. So I'm a big fan of Hunter Hammerstein's, and she has done a series of hats with what she calls a dip stitch. And this one is Constellate, I believe. No, I'm sorry. This one is Ephemeris, is the pattern. And the yarn is Madeline Tosh Light. I think it's in the River colorway because I named the pattern River. But you can see the twisted ribbing. So Hunter is a glutton for punishment, and she loves her some twisted ribbing. And it's hard to falter on it when it looks so good. And then this one you can see, let me see if I can see the dip stitches. So, and that's what the stitch looks like. This is for my best friend Heather, and I have been working on this one. Let me open it. When did I make it? I have been working on this since July 5th, and I need to finish it before the end of the month because she is Canadian. She lives here in Sacramento. But she is Canadian. Her family is from the east coast of Canada. I'm not sure what tiny city they're from, or big city, but her family lives in the east coast. And she and her newborn are going home to visit her family. She had a baby boy this April. He's so little, I always forget how old he is, but he's super cute. Anyway, so I told her I would have her hat done for her by the time she went to Canada, so I gotta finish it at the end of the month. So the reason this hasn't got as much, even though it's been on my purse for so long, is because it's hard to pick up and go, because I usually have to pay attention to what row I'm on. It's not mindless knitting like those plain vanilla socks, because I have to think about the row and stuff and the dip stitches. I'm really proud of myself. I haven't missed any dip stitches. When I would go back to earlier when I was talking about what I would do if I missed stuff, I made myself an Ephemeris, which I did see back here in my big old basket of stuff. So this was my knitting when I thought I could finish a hat on a plane when I flew to Chicago in April. And I did not finish this on the plane, and I had started the ribbing ahead of time. But so this hat is for me, or is mine, and I knit it. And I had Heather try this one on to make sure that she would like the Ephemeris one. Ephemeris is knitting up a little bit tighter, even though I'm using the exact same yarns. but it might get bigger in blocking. But also, I do feel like this one is a little big. I do find it funny. This one has more stitches, and it's on the same size needle, but it has even more stitches. I'm knitting them in the largest size because Heather and I have gigantic heads. But it's a little bit smaller. But it should look a bit better. I don't think I'm going to knit it as tall as this one. So I did the full length on this one. This one is... this one is 13 inches long, I think, total. And I get weirded out about how I'm supposed to wear it all slouchy, and I'm not really into that. But it's comfy, and I will be wearing it to Chicago next month when I go to Chicago in October, because I go to Chicago for work twice a year for a conference. And I'll have to pick up some knitting for then. So that is, but this is what I'm working on for Heather. And I do love it. Hunter just released a book called Firmament, which has these 2 hat patterns in it. It also has 2 more dip stitch patterns and of hats. And then there's instructions on how to turn the pattern into cowls. So might knit one of those, and I'd like to do it bigger. I was knitting this first, obviously. I knit Ephemeris a while ago, or Constellate a while ago, and then this one. And then the Beekeeper cardigan has essentially dip stitches too, but it's done in a bit of a different way because you're dropping the stitch underneath to pick up, whereas this one you're not, and you're essentially increasing on a dip stitch round. You slip the stitches the next round, and then the round after that you decrease back down to what your normal hat should be. And that's why it does it all a bit wonky and big. But I'm super into this one. I really like it. I think that Heather's gonna like it a lot. It is super stretchy, so that's why even though it's not as big as the other one, I'm really not concerned. I think it's going to block bigger, so I think it'll probably block a big size as the other one. I'm still working on the best way to block it. I have a fake Amazon head form. My husband laughs at me now because I'm now collecting fake body parts to block things on. So I do have a black Amazon head form that's was the biggest head form I could get because I have a gigantic noggin. It's like 23 inches around. It's gigantic. So I have a giant, so I use that to block the hats. And then my bag is a Mrs. Brown's bag from, it's her sock sack, and I believe the color I went with is House of Dolls because I really like it. And I like it even more than I thought I would because I didn't realize, because she photos them flat, I didn't realize it was a box bottom. And it really holds, especially for my hats, the ball of yarn and my knitting in there perfectly, and I throw it in my bag and I like to grab and go, and that's perfect. And then I use my filled bags for a little bit bigger projects. And then I have, for my big old sweater projects, I have my Target basket. These used to be in my son's room when he had his changing table in there, and they used to be on the bottom of his changing table, and then he started stealing them and standing on them and doing little boy stuff with them, so I took them from him, and so now I have 3 of these. There's one in my big closet, in my closet right now, holding another sweater's quantity of yarn for me that I planned, and then this one, and then there's one behind me that I keep throwing other end of projects in. And then, so the last stuff that I wanted to show you guys today is some future planning and some stash acquisition. To start with, I have these 2 balls of bamboo pop. They're a really great green kind of teal colorway, and I got these in Hawaii. So one of the things I told my husband that I wanted to do is go to a yarn store. He has always been very accommodating. We generally, when we're on vacation, he always lets me stop at a yarn store if there's one nearby, and that's usually my favorite souvenir to get is yarn, because then, one, I get the pleasure of buying it, and then when I knit it, I always think about, it does the dual thing of, I always think about what I was doing when I bought it, and then when it's done, I get to think about the yarn when I bought it, and the yarn, what I was doing when I knit it, so we bought this at a local store on Oahu. It was called Yarn Story, and it was just about, it's like a mile outside of Waikiki, like at the downtown area. We did have to drive out to get there. It's a tiny little store. It's on the 2nd story. They didn't have any local yarns, like any local hand dye stuff. She said they were all out. It's obviously end of season for them. The shelves were kind of bare. And I feel like once you walk into a yarn store, you have to buy something, so I got 2 balls because these are 50% cotton, 50% bamboo, and I've never knit with bamboo. and it's 192 yards, so almost 300 yards in each ball. So I am going to knit a cowl out of this because it's about the weight of a sock yarn. It's fingering. It's a number 3 light, which is crazy, but it's a 3. I would have thought it would be a 2, but anyway, so it's light fingering. So I'm actually going to I'll try to throw a photo up here, but I found a pattern. It looks like pineapples. So the cowl looks like pineapples. So I'll knit that. That'll be good. That'll be good spring cowl because I live in Sacramento and it doesn't really get super cold here where we are down in the valley, but it's really cool in the spring, and most of my sweaters get indoor knit time, wartime, because it is freaking cold in my office. I share an office with 20, we're an office of 20 now. I've been on vacation for a week and a half. They might have hired somebody while it's out. So it's 19, 20 people in our office. Most of them are guys. There's 3 of us, 4 of us now. Sorry, there's 4 women now who work in IT. And it's always cold in the office. And it's really funny that it's super cold in the office because my boss, he's always really cold too. And he always has a heater on under his desk. And so sometimes I'll just go in there and be like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and warm up for a little bit because it's so cold. But I usually keep a sweater at my desk. And so when I knit, I tend to lean towards the cardigan so I can take them on and off. Because when I go outside, I do not want to be, and like for spring and summer, obviously, when I go outside, I do not want to be wearing it. It gets up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit here in the summer. So I obviously don't want to be wearing a sweater outside, but I do want it indoors. So I always have a cardigan on my desk. So I've been leaning towards those. So that's what I'm going to use that bamboo for. And then, if I dig down here under my desk, I have a big basket under my desk. I do tend to buy sock yarn the most. I'm not going to show you any of the rock and sock clip stuff. I'll probably wait till the end of the year to show you guys that. But some recent stuff. A local dyer here in California. She's just outside of Stockton, so she's about 45 miles away. She's called Loft 22. Really hard to find her on Ravelry because she didn't do a website page for him. So I actually had to DM her on Instagram. I found her through Instagram. And she does a bunch of hand-dyed yarns in themed colorways in Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. And I love Harry Potter. This is my Harry Potter field bag. Almost all my pins are Harry Potter, and I have a little head wig hanging off the back. But anyway, so this is her babbling beverage, because I really like it. And this, I think I'm going to knit into another scarf shawl. So I think there's one called Twisted Staircase, something's Great Hall Staircase. It took one skeiny yarn, and it was Harry Potter themed also. And in November, so this is probably going to be my project knitting when I fly to Chicago, because in November, I go to Orlando for work, and I go a day early so I could go to Universal Studios, and I'm going to go to Harry Potter Land again, or Harry Potter World, because I'm a huge fan of that. So I went last year with a coworker. A different coworker's going with me this year. He says he's going to be super dorky with me, but we'll see. But I could just sit there and people watch all day long. And then in stash that I got but I did not buy, my birthday's in July, and so my mom has knit, she crochets more than she knits, but she is currently on her RV trip with my aunt and uncle, and she's been traveling all over the US, and they actually went up into Canada, and she had been asking me, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, well, you're traveling, give me yarn. Go to a local yarn store, give me something that's local to the yarn store. So she has sent me in two different packages. She has sent me yarn. So the first one that she sent me is from New Brunswick, and so she got me 2 skeins, and the yarn is called Sweet Skein of Mine. And I'll look in the back because I know she sent it. But so this is a local dyer to them. And this color is called St. Andrew Summer, and I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to make it with, because there is, and I haven't wound the skeins, and so obviously it's white and there's a lot of blue and then pink and purple speckles. So usually I wouldn't put blue and pink together like that because it's like a weird combo of boyish stuff, girlish stuff. So I usually wouldn't, but I'm always down for speckles, and we'll see how big those blue bits are because I love the whites. So probably a shawl, so I can knit 2 of them together. Probably another Hohi shawl because I enjoyed this one so much, and she has so many. So my mom got me those, and then let's see, because I know it's in here. She sent my husband coasters, which cracked me up. She sent him coasters. Oh, and the yarn store is Cricket Cove in New Brunswick, and I know I just heard them talking about it on. I just watched another podcast, and they were talking about the yarn store out there in Cricket Cove. I don't remember which one I watched a lot of random ones. And then she has been traveling, like I said, through the US, and so she did not tell me where she was, but they were just left Yosemite, so I think they're in Montana. And so she got me she was in there, and so she's in Montana, or Idaho, right, one of those 2 states. She bought me yarn from Oregon that is hand-dyed, because I also told her, Mom, you don't have to, I mean, she's adorable, she got me 2 skeins of this, but it's like, Mom, she's like, I don't know what she'll make. Just send me a skein. Just one skeiny sock yarn, and I'll be a happy camper, because I can make socks, or I can make shawls, or I could figure out when I have a lot, I'll put a fade together. So I'm like, just give me whatever. So she was going to buy me 2 of these. I love these colors. But I said, because they only had 2 left. And I was like, oh, you only have to give me 1, because she'd already got me yarn. So I like this one. It's blues and purples and greens. And this one is 100% superwash merino, called Emerald Forest, and this is hand-dyed yarn. And then this other one, same brand, or same company. This one is called Black. Their base is called Black Butte. It is 60% superwash, 20% silk, and 20% yak. So when she showed me that one, I'm like, yeah, give me that. I've never knit with yak, because that's where I am right now in my random skeinness. Just send me stuff that I've never knit before. So, but seriously, looking at this and looking at this, how is this marked a 3? See, look, they got it. It's backwards because I'm reversed, but this one says it's a 3. Lightweight, and this one's a number 1 fingering, and they're totally the same weight. But I really like the colors on this. It's really soft. It's 440 yards, so I will probably find another, either this is going to go into a fade of some sorts when I get there, or I will do a standalone 1 skein shawl to do that too. But these are from my mom, and I really love her, so thank you, Mom, for thinking of me and getting yarn, because I have no idea what she's about to get. The adorable thing, and I'll pop a photo up as I learn how to edit, she sent my son, he's 3 and he loves to play dress up, she sent Evan a little park ranger uniform. So he has a little vest, and he has the hats, and she sent him like a little, it's like a little hiking toolkit. It's got the compass and a whistle and a light and a temperature thing on it. It's like an all-in-one kind of thing, and he loves playing with it all the time. And so he has been all over that. He wanted to take it to his grandma and grandpa. He was with his grandma and grandpa over in Hawaii, my husband's parents, and he wanted to take that with him, but I forgot to take it. But he loves playing dress up. He tells me he's going to be Spider-Man for Halloween. I'm a little sad only because he already has a Spider-Man costume, which means I don't have to go out and buy him a costume when we don't get to go costume shopping. But that does mean I'll probably go buy him a nice Spider-Man mask, because his Spider-Man costume is a hand-me-down from his cousin, and that mask has seen better days, and it's starting to pop on the seam on the back. So the last bit of yarn I have to show you is essentially my Christmas knitting. So as I said earlier, I am knitting all the children in my life a sweater to match my son's, because I like the pattern. It was easy, and I figured that would be easy knitting. This is probably the first year that I've done a lot of knitting for Christmas. I've already knit my sister's Christmas present, and I haven't taken any photos of it at all. I knit her a Joji hat, and I put together some fingerless mitts that use the same pattern that I cobbled together, and that's on my Ravelry page. When we get closer to Christmas, then I know for sure that my sister is not going to watch the podcast, which she probably won't. She's got better stuff to do. Then I'll post them. I just didn't want her to see it ahead of time, so I haven't posted them on Instagram or anything. There are, aside from my son, there are 4 other children in my life that are they're not my kids, but they're as close to me as a kid. Evan is an only child, and he's going to be an only child, so... but the first kid that came into my life that was like, oh, you're mine, is my nephew. He is 6. His name is Ethan, and you'll see a trend in a second, but he wanted orange. So I decided, I had a bunch of other yarn that I love my sister, but I know she's not going to hand wash anything because she's got too much going on, and her kids are crazy. So so I decided to go with the Vintage DK by Berocco because I already had some balls. I'm going to knit my niece some mittens, but I have like a light purple that I bought last year on Wool Watcher because I bought 3 skeins. And I've already knit some hats and stuff out of it, but I really like the way it knit up, and I knew I needed a DK weight for the sweater, so I thought I would go with that. But so I sent them the picture, the webpage, and they picked a color because he said orange, and I said, okay, well, what kind of orange? And he picked this really rusty color, and I really like it. It's really, the lighting in here is terrible, I'm sorry, but it's a really rusty color, so it's not like a really super bright pumpkin orange, which I totally thought he was gonna want. So I'm actually really happy about that. So I have that for him. And then my niece, Ellie, she wanted purple. And so they looked at the colors together and she picked this, the color is just a number color, but, so she picked this like really dark lavendery purple. And I really like this, and I really am liking the way they are heathered. And then, so this one's hers, and so for each of them, I'm hoping I bought enough yarn. I got 3 skeins for each of them. So Ethan is 6 and Ellie is 4. Their birthdays are 2 days apart. And Ellie's older than Evan. So my husband trolled up my family because we had a list of names, but we had decided when Evan was... while I was pregnant, that we were going to wait until we saw him, until he came out to name him. It was like, we have to see him to see what his name is. So Evan was on the list because it is my husband's mom's maiden name. And then Jack was on the list, and I think Jacob. I like J names. His middle name's a J name. When he came out, the first question I asked my husband, because I had a C-section, an unscheduled C-section, the first question I said is, what's his name? And he looked at me and he said his name was Evan. And about 20 minutes later, when I'm in the recovery room, I said, good job, my mom's never going to get his name right, because we already had Ethan and Ellie. So my mom, so all the kids, because my brother doesn't have any children yet, our kids are Ethan, Ellie, and Evan. So half the time Evan and Ethan get their names mixed up. And Ellie and Evan are exactly 9 months apart. I always joke that I went home from watching Ellie be born to going and getting knocked up because I wanted my own kid so much. But we were trying before my sister had Ellie, but that just happens to be our timing. So, and Ethan was born in Oklahoma. My sister's in the Air Force. My sister's husband is in the Air Force. So Ethan was born in Oklahoma. They were actually stationed here locally while she was pregnant with Ellie, and she had Ellie about 2 blocks from my mom's house. So I was there when she had Ellie, and so Ellie, I love Ethan, but Ellie is my baby. She was the first baby in the family. And then I had Evan, and they are best friends. And all Evan ever wants to do is call and chat and talk to Ellie. So we FaceTime a lot with the kids. And then we're going to go out after Christmas. So then the other 2 kids are my friend Heather, my best friend Heather. She has 2 sons. She has James, who is exactly 9 months younger than Evan. And she just had Matthew this last summer. And they are... So James is 3. No, James is 2. He'll be 3 next month. And then obviously Matthew is about a month, 3 months old, I think, at this point. And Heather picked this blue for the boys. So they'll have matching sweaters, and she said they'll get some photos done. And then when Ethan, when I go out with Evan, Ethan, Ellie, and Evan will all wear their sweaters, and we're going to take them to go get photos done because we like cousin photos. That's what we do. And I actually really like the way they all these 3 colors look together, which is so funny because that wasn't. Oh, that's a really good representation of those colors too. Because it was except not as reddish on that orange in the middle, but it would just crack me up because I didn't buy them to go together, but they looked really nice when I pulled them out of the package. So that is what is going on in my life right now. So I have a ton of knitting going on. I'm gonna swatch. I'm off today. We just got back from vacation on Saturday, so I thought I'd podcast today because my husband's not home and my son's at daycare. So I thought I'd podcast today and see how long editing took me and all that super great stuff. I'm probably gonna swatch for the sweaters today because, well, I need to finish the Beekeeper. It's for me and there's no deadline and I'm kind of fed up with it at this point. So I'm going to need something else because I think my goal, maybe 2 weeks I'll finish it, to get through, get to 1 decrease a day, essentially. And if I do that, then it's going to be done in like 2 weeks because, like I said, I have 10 decreases to do. So, but I do need to get started knitting because I have 4 sweaters to make. But Matthews is really tiny, so that'll be good. So Matthews is going to be the in-between because Ethan and Ellie's are, Ethan's will be bigger than Evan's. Ellie's might be the same size. My sister has to measure a kid still. Ellie's might be the same size because even though she's older, she's taller than him, so I'll probably have to make it longer. But she's skinnier than him. Between picking up those 2 kids, picking up Ellie is a feather, picking up Evan is like picking up a bowling ball. He is so compact. I mean, he's tall, but he's like really dense. And man, I just get really tired holding him now. He's only 3. So, but I need to swatch so that I can start to get ready for Christmas. My plan is, I got 100 days till Christmas. The kids' sweaters I would love to ship off before Christmas, but they might not. We're planning on flying out either the 26th or the 27th of December, and I might just have them with me when I fly out. So for Kathy's kids, and then Heather's kids will get theirs for Christmas. But the kids, it's hard to say these are Christmas presents because the kids know they're getting sweaters. They sat with their mom. I showed them the sweater. They saw Evans, and they know that Auntie's making them sweaters. So it's not really a present. I'm going to mail them presents. Ellie's really into fashion, so I'm going to have to find like a little skirt, a poof skirt or something that'll go with this one, with that purple to make it look really cool because she wants an outfit. And then Ethan is his father's son. He's all super into video games right now, just like the rest of us. But I'm keeping all these in my gigantic IKEA bag. I have a ton of shopping bags all over the house. California banned plastic shopping bags without a fee, I think last year, but Sacramento County hasn't had them in 3 years, and I still forget my bags when I go shopping. So I have a ton of fabric bags, and I tend to use them for stuff other than shopping, and then I end up getting the paper bags when I'm there, and I get to charge my 10 cents. So that's what's happening. Thanks for listening to me ramble for 45 minutes. Like I said, I'm going to try to pop some photos up over here in the corner. If I get a good response to this, which means if at least one person says I should do another one, I'll probably record another one. I do like this format way better. I know it's just me rambling, and I need to practice talking slower because part of my work in the next year is going to be transitioning from what I do currently, which is HR and finance and business management. I come up with procedures for how we run our business internally. But part of the next year would bring is we're going to be doing more Microsoft training and training people how to use Microsoft Office 365. And I essentially have to prove to my boss that I can talk to a room full of people and not speed up and not go too fast. And I don't want to do Toastmasters. So I figured podcasting will actually help me get used to that. Also, we're gonna have to start doing some more instructional videos. And if I can figure out how to do my I didn't do makeup or hair today because I wanted to be honest and real and me. And this is me. This big red thing on my cheek because I have rosacea and stuff. That's me. I try to cover it up, but it's always going to be there. But learning how to be on camera a little bit better will definitely help me in the next year or so. That's probably why I will keep doing this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to look for me, you can find me on Instagram at awelisa. I'm on Ravelry. I'm probably going to change my Ravelry name. My Ravelry name is really old from my previous blog. My Ravelry name is Unsympathetic, and you're welcome to come and track all of my projects there. And on YouTube, I'm right exactly where you found me, so I'm not anywhere else. I'm really never on Facebook, so I don't anticipate like creating a Facebook group to go with this because I am never on Facebook. I stalk it occasionally to see pictures of my friends' kids from my friends from college, to see pictures of their kids because most of them post to Facebook. If everybody posted on Instagram, I would be a happy camper. I love Instagram so much better. So that's where you can find me. Is those 3 places. I'll put links down below in the bar, and feel free to ask me anything if there's any questions about any of the yarns that if I didn't mention what I was using. I tried to have some show notes about what I was going to talk about, and I did decently well with that. And then all of my projects are on Ravelry. I don't have, some of them are missing pictures so far, but the ones that I talked about have pictures, so you should definitely be able to find them. I'm very creative when it comes to naming my project. It's usually based off of the color of whatever I'm knitting and the name of the pattern. I don't tend to repeat too many things, except for these sweaters that I'm going to knit 5 of essentially. But so it should be really pretty easy to figure out what it is that I'm knitting. If there's a location in the yarns, it's because, or in the titles, it's because that's probably where I bought the yarn at or where I knitted it at. So for example, the socks that I knit, you can find that under Oahu Beach Socks on my Ravelry page. And my shawl is Pure Hawaiian Joy because I knit it in Hawaii. So thank you so much for spending most of the hour with me. I hope it was worth your time. I hope you got some good knitting in. I hope you guys do exactly what I do, which is sit down, listen to somebody talk about their knitting, and do your own knitting, because that's number one what I want to throw on when I'm knitting on the couch, because then I feel like I'm knitting in a group, because since there's no groups local to me. There are some other stuff, and in a couple weeks we have, there is a Lambtown Sheep Festival. It happens in Dixon, California, and that's about 40 miles from me. So I'll be headed down to there with Evan. I look forward to watching him ride a sheep like a bull, because I'm totally making him ride a sheep. And I saw a vendor list, and even though I told my husband I wasn't going to buy any more yarn this year, I'm probably going to buy more yarn. And then next year, early next year, I'm hoping to go to Stitches West in San Francisco and take a class. I've never taken a class before, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm thinking about doing drops, doing spinning, even though I know that I don't really want to get into spinning as a whole thing, because I barely have enough time to knit. I don't think I have enough time to spin. And then if Jimmy Beans Wool puts on an event. For Mother's Day, they were going to do a bus trip. They come down to Sacramento and West Sacramento, and they do pickups, and they bus everybody up to the store in Reno. And I've been to the store in Reno. We go to Reno a lot, and there are local yarn stores, but I tend to buy from Jimmy Beans more often than not because they're kind of local. I've been to the store. I bought yarn there on my birthday one year. Eric's parents show a classic card Hot August Nights every year, so usually every other year we tend to go up for Hot August Nights for the weekend, and then I almost always get to go to Jimmy Beans while we're there. So that's where most of my yarn has come from. And then this year the bus trip got canceled, but if there's one next year, I'll probably do that next year, because I'd like to do some more stuff and really get back out there in the community, because seeing what everybody else is doing is really driving my inspiration lately. So alright, that's really it for me. I really appreciate you spending your time with me, and I hope you come back. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks.